Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
So I'm so excited this week. We finally have on our first gay couple. It's probably overdue, but we are obsessed with them.
They were so
had to come
terrific.
on.
They're so inspirational to talk to both of them and their life and how they were able to finally come to grips with their own sexuality. And it really is a wonderful episode. I'm hoping everybody really gets something out of it.
Also, not only is it our first gay couple, it's our first couple on our podcast. We've never interviewed a couple before.
Well, then they're first, and they're clearly one of the best and a highlight.
I will say, like, their dynamic and their energy together was so great and so positive, and they're very committed to sharing their story to kind of
help other people.
Will be a role model,
Yeah.
because they were saying, like, you know, they didn't have people to ask about relationships in the same way I can ask you or talk to some other people in my life, and they said they didn't really have that, so they want to be that.
Correct, because their families were very, very much against their relationship. So it was inspiring to see how they dealt with it.
So we hope you enjoy. All right, guys, we are joined by Matthew and Paul, the co-hosts of the His and His podcast. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. It's great to be here.
So you've had more than 100 episodes. That's impressive.
Because we have 50. We're exhausted. We can't believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot to say in 100 episodes.
It really is. It's amazing. We just celebrated 100 episodes, and I said on that episode, we would not have been able to do it were it not for this man to my left, my husband, Matthew. He is the more organized. I call him Mr. Spreadsheet. And he's very organized. We have not missed a Monday since we started. So we put out a new episode every Monday morning.
Okay.
And it's thanks to his tenacity and diligence.
And your pre-production work. So Paul does a lot of the pre-production work, which I'm sure you guys know is a lot of work.
Well, that's Kimmy's job.
Well, that's the thing. With, I mean,
see, there's always one in a duo that does the work, and the other one's sort of like the talent.
Okay. So I like where you're going with this, because like Matthew's definitely like the engine that makes this whole thing happen. But like he has no clue what the next topic is going to be.
Well,
Leave
I
that
don't have
entirely up to me.
Right. Well, that's what makes it spontaneous and good and fresh.
Yeah.
We found the same formula, so it's working for you, and hopefully we'll get to 100 episodes.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
and I'll continue to like not prep you sometimes, because I feel like that does better.
Yeah, because sometimes when you prep me, then I think too much
Yeah.
about it.
It's
too
Gail,
much.
I was having the same conversation a moment ago. Matthew's like, should we go over these questions again? Because you submitted some topics for us. And I said, no, I don't want to hear them, because I think that if I overthink it, it's going to come off wooden, and it's not going to be spontaneous or real.
Yeah. Also, you guys know the answers. It's about your life, you know? So let's I'll start with an easy one. Age, where you're from, and how long you've been together.
I just turned 38.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm 31, and we have been together. We will be celebrating 6 years in June.
Yeah.
And did you say where we're from? So we are in Seattle, and we've lived in Washington State for the entirety of our relationship, but we moved downtown just a year ago. So we love being in the city now.
And then how long have you been married?
You just said 6 years.
No, 6 years since you've met or married?
Since we met, and then we just celebrated 2 years of marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nice. I want to hear the wedding story, because I get giddy about that stuff.
Kimberly's walking down our hall with flowers.
And I'm single.
So we'd been together for a while and had kind of talked about getting married at some point. And Paul said, well, do you want to propose? Should we do the proposal, or should we just plan the wedding?
I wanted to skip to the good part. You know, I was like, let's just start planning our wedding. We know we want to get married, right?
Right.
And I said, no, I want to go through the proposal. That would be fun. I said, I want to surprise you. And he said, fine, you have 6 months to surprise me. After that, we're just planning the wedding.
which he calls an ultimatum.
Yeah.
As if I was making a threat.
Right.
But really, I just didn't want it to be too long and drawn out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's true. Even, I remember, listen, I was engaged 3 months and I got married. It's enough. I mean, all you're going to do is fight, because they're going to be things that you're just either family or, I don't know, where you're putting the sofa. There's always going to be an issue, and you just may as well jump in and just do it. I mean, all the preparations make you so nervous and really get you cuckoo after a while. Kind of like bridezilla, isn't that the term now?
Yeah,
they
or
use?
groomzilla,
whatever they are.
We were asked that, which one of us was the groomzilla. We were pretty chill though. We was actually really great. So what ended up happening was we very uncharacteristically, we found ourselves in these really beautiful locations after I gave him this quote ultimatum. And we ended up being in Hawaii, on Maui, and heading up to Haleakala, which is the beautiful volcano there, and watching the sunrise there is this
how beautiful
tradition. And I was thinking to myself, this is it. This is gonna be it.
But it wasn't. Matthew did, he didn't do it.
So cliche.
We literally saw a proposal at the top of that mountain too, with a drone. And no, it wasn't mine.
And then like a month later, we were in Mexico, this beautiful little town called Zihuatanejo. We were on a sunset sailboat ride.
Just the two of us.
Yeah.
This little, what do you call those?
Catamaran.
They've got a very good life.
I hate telling this story.
You're so bored.
Grandma Gail, this never happens. This is like, we got really fortunate. We were invited on these trips.
Yeah,
this
by
is
family.
By no means is this normal for us.
Okay. So you're on the sailboat, and what happened on the sailboat?
Surely I thought, okay, sunrise was not his thing. Surely a sunset will be the moment. And it wasn't the case.
No.
And I confronted him after. I said, what are you doing? This would have been the perfect time.
Yeah.
And he said, exactly. And that wouldn't have been a surprise.
Yeah.
So sure enough.
So I ended up surprising him when we went up to Canada. Paul is Canadian, and we were up in Vancouver, went on a car ride with his aunt and uncle. Little did he know that the three of us were in on a scheme to surprise him with a proposal. So I
should have guessed when Matthew claimed to be car sick on the way up, which he does not get. He's never been car sick in his life. He was queasy with nerves.
We pull over for a pit stop, and Paul's like, there's a gondola here that goes up this mountain.
It was this beautiful gondola that goes to the top
of
the mountain.
We all pretended to act surprised as well.
Right.
And I suggested we go up it. Little did I know this was all part of the big scheme.
So we went up to the top of this beautiful mountain. It was still snowing up there. It was covered in snow. And we were looking around. I got down on one knee and held out the ring box. Paul has retinitis pigmentosa, so he has tunnel vision, which means he can't see anything around. So he didn't see me.
I don't have peripheral vision. And of course, he knew this. Either. So getting down on one knee.
Wait, so you didn't know he was proposing?
No, I didn't see it. So I completely missed it. And he was kneeling in the snow, waiting.
Did you think he was pretending not to see it? And you were like, oh, maybe he actually doesn't want to do it.
Maybe he's intentionally.
No, I was just waiting. I was getting frostbite while I waited for him to notice me.
I was so transfixed by this beautiful setting we were in. I was just staring out of the mountains. Meanwhile, my aunt and uncle are posed with their cameras on the scene, ready to take photos and to capture the moment. So it was my aunt who finally called my attention, like, Paul,
where's Matthew?
Where's Matthew? And I'm looking around. I was like, where the heck is Matthew?
Fell off the map.
Oh, hopefully.
Yeah, it would fall off the mountain. Then I looked down and there he is. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, surprising you. And he did. And
that's really wonderful.
That's so cute.
That's great. I love Vancouver. I must say that is one of the most beautiful places to really. What is the place that I went to that you go walk across the oh my gosh, I have to go look at my t-shirts. Anyway, it doesn't matter, because then from Vancouver I went on a Disney cruise. So you can imagine the highlight of my trip was Vancouver. Truly. The Disney cruise just awful.
What happened on the Disney cruise?
The Disney cruise. You want to hear for my 75th birthday, I have a little grandchild, and I said, where would you like to go? They want to go to Disney World, to Alaska. I said, okay, let's go on a Disney cruise. So we went. All of them were sick the entire time. I was the only one, and one child, one older granddaughter, everybody else never left their cabins. They never saw Alaska. They,
Oh, no.
they never went out of their room. We saw everything alone. Anyway, that was our fan.
Wait, I have a proposal question that might kind of be stupid, but I just don't know. So I'm like lucky that in a hetero relationship, like I know the guy will probably propose to me. When you're like in a relationship, in your situation, like how do you know who's going to be the one to propose? Because I feel like that's like a societal.
Like we kind of like
It could be either way.
Yeah.
Absolutely gone either way. But it came down to I never had the fantasy of proposing or even being proposed to. It didn't, but Matthew did. And he really wanted that. I think he, for probably your whole life, even before you came out to yourself, you imagined you were going to get down on your knee and be the one to do that. And so that was like an important thing for Matthew. And so that's how we decided.
Right.
And I think in a gay relationship, we've seen it where they've both done it at different times.
Oh,
that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good too. I like that.
Yeah, I know.
Double the fun.
Yeah.
Rings going.
Yeah, you wear 4 rings.
I like it.
Where you get like 2 surprises, you get like 2 big moments. You know, I
Very
should have
nice.
done it to you.
Yeah, more rings.
Is it too late? We've been married for 2 years.
Now it's
You could renew your vows or something.
Exactly.
Down the
We
line.
have talked about that already. So we ended up having our wedding in the little Mexican town that Matthew didn't propose to me at, called Zihuatanejo. We decided to have a destination wedding, and it was
nice.
6 months after the proposal, so we didn't waste too much.
That's a good time. That's enough. You've
that's
known
definitely-
each other. You've known each other a while. I mean, I never understand why people wait so long.
Well,
It
sometimes it takes a while
very
to get a
stressful.
venue and stuff like that.
Well, I don't know. Then get a
Yeah.
different venue. It's too stressful to drag those things on. I really, especially you can't make a decision, so better not leave it up to you.
Oh no!
Oh my God.
I think Grandma Gail is going to be the one to organize.
Grandma Gail's
How
making
do you
the
feel about
decision.
that, Kim?
She will definitely take over, and I'm fine with that because
Okay.
if I make the decision, she's just going to complain about every decision that I made. So I might as well just like let her take over.
Thanks.
Day
Take
one.
it from us. It's so much better, Kim, if you just have
Mhm.
somebody else taking
Yeah.
care of all the details. Like
Yeah.
we didn't take care of any of it. We had
That's great.
We actually did this little B&B, a beautiful little spot, gay owned in Zihuatanejo
Nice.
by a couple that we just fell in love with them and their love story and how they created this B&B together. And they took over everything. They would just shoot us an email and they'd say, what do you think about this food? What do you think about these flowers? What do you think
That's
about
really
this
nice.
setup? We were like, great. Like
Yeah.
everything they showed us, we loved.
So
And
that was
it.
perfect.
Yeah, that worked out well.
That-
Let's go back a bit to the beginning of your lives. And when did you first know that you were gay? I get both of you.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, we have very different stories.
Mhm.
And do you want to go first? About
Sure.
yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was in denial probably for most of my upbringing, even to the age of 20. I was still like, no, I'll eventually meet the right girl. I just haven't met the right girl. But
So
there
you were
always-
dating women.
No, I
Oh.
wasn't even
Dating
dating
at
one.
all.
I was,
Okay.
Hating it all, but he was thinking about going
Yeah.
on a
He
date.
was, he was
thinking
trying
about
not to.
I was like, the right one hasn't come around yet, but I'll eventually, and then I'll date, and then we'll get
Mhm.
married, and then we'll have the kids and the white picket fence and all
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah, I was in pretty severe denial. And then I grew up in a very religious conservative household, and I was sent Catholic, and I was sent on a silent retreat. And it was on that retreat that I kind of had the time, silence to really look into my soul. And we were encouraged to journal, to write about whatever came up during that time. And we had a spiritual director that we'd meet with once a day. And basically, that was my week to really address that I was gay, and I was able to write about it and really process it. So that was very, very freeing for me. I left there just on cloud 9. That was still one of the best weeks of my life.
And the irony is, if your mother had known that
I
was
would
going
just-
to be the outcome,
He would have never sent you on that retreat.
Yeah.
So so it's kind of after that I began to process all of it. And at the age of 21, I left home, got kicked out of home, left home, and
Because
really
that you came out.
His mother discovered the journal, the diary that he
Oh.
kept that whole time.
Okay.
He had hidden.
Right.
And that just ended up being the beginning of the end. For
Okay. That's sad. What
Very
about the
sad.
rest of your family? Did they have any inkling, or did they also sort of sever ties, or have you got a relationship with any of?
So my sister's super religious. I still have a bit of a relationship with her, not with my brother. Not with my mom anymore. My dad, my mom and my dad divorced many years ago, and I lost touch with him. So after I came out, left home, started my own life, I reached back out to him, and we got back in contact. And when I told him that I was gay, he said, "Well, that's funny. A week ago, my girlfriend and I were talking about you, and she said, 'Do you think any of your kids are gay?' And my dad said, 'Well, I don't know, but if any of them is, it would be Matthew.'"
Okay.
So
he's
knew.
more he's accepting. He's
More
he's
than
great.
accepting.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are best friends. They
Oh,
talk
so
on
that's
the
nice. So
phone.
that's a good thing that came out of it.
Oh yeah, we talked on the phone
Okay.
this morning. He calls me
Okay.
every day.
Oh,
And
that's
if
great.
he can't get a hold of Matthew, he calls me. So he's
Okay.
he's very close to both of us. He's
Okay,
great.
that's
Mhm.
great.
If your mom didn't find the journal, do you think you would have told her? And when do you think you would have?
I don't know. I don't know.
I love this question because
I don't know if I could have or would have. I was in
Maybe you would still be there.
I was homeschooled in a religious cult, extremely religious.
Oh, really?
extremely
Wow.
Really
Right.
religious.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, I think that helped. It could have been a lot longer. So I am
Yeah.
grateful that happened in retrospect, because it really just gave me the kick in the pants, literally,
Okay.
to get out and begin my own life.
Okay.
Mhm.
And Paul?
Yeah, well, my story is a little different just because I was very aware of my sexuality from a very young age. I would say around the age of 8, I was
Okay.
really like openly expressing the crushes I had on boys my age and boys that I saw like in movies. But very quickly, of course, those feelings, which came from a very pure, innocent, honest place, were met with an adverse reaction. Well,
Right.
society and even my parents, who my mother, expressed some concern about my feelings, and I think out of my own desire for my own safety, maybe she just didn't know how to handle it at that time. I didn't grow up in as much of a religious environment as Matthew did, but definitely at a time where that just wasn't totally accepted.
Right.
So I did learn to like conceal those feelings from that point on. So I spent all of my teen years really wrestling with that and battling that and not feeling safe to come out, because I was going to high school in a very small rural Canadian town in the northern part of British Columbia, where all the boys hunt and fish, and it's just very old fashioned, and like it wasn't a place where you see other out gay people. It just didn't happen. So and I was involved in the church at this time. Actually, my family did become more religious as my teen years went on, only making that sort of internal battle more difficult. But I had a lucky break, because my parents had divorced when I was younger. My dad had moved to California. And so while I was up in high school in rural Canada, my dad was living in the San Francisco Bay Area, which, I mean, has a reputation for being a great place for being accepting and gay.
Right.
And so when I marked the day on my calendar, I remember when I was just 16 years old, and I finally came out to myself in the fullest way, where I said, I'm not suppressing this anymore. This is who I am.
Good for you.
And on my 18th birthday, I'm going to come out. I'm going to graduate from high school. I'm going to move to San Francisco and march in my first parade. And I did all those things.
All right. So that was great.
I love that.
That was great. That was really
Do you think
good.
like in those rural towns and stuff, like things are progressing and it's getting a little bit more open, or it's still similar to how when you were growing up?
Oh, I think it's definitely changed since I
Yeah.
was growing up. I do think that like there are probably even a couple out gay kids in the high school that I went to. I don't think it's easy for them, but
Yeah.
No.
because,
See, we grew up in the city. You grew up in the city, in New York
I grew up-
City, where,
Oh, wow.
first of all, if you're not gay, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a whole
Wow.
different environment. And the small towns, even in the Midwest, in the South, it's very difficult if you're not in a city. If you're in a suburban area or a rural area, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
Did you go on dating? This is the thing that gets me crazy. Did you go on dating apps, or for gay gentlemen, or did you prefer being fixed up? I mean, I don't know if that was even a possibility where you were from.
That's true.
I was never offered to be fixed up.
I love that. I mean, like,
Were
fixed
you?
up, that's so old fashioned. I
Well,
like it.
I still like being fixed up. I would fix you up. Any of you. Now you can't because you're a couple. Forget it.
Right.
But I know an awful lot of guys that would like to be fixed up with both of you.
Yeah, and if someone had offered, I definitely would have said yes.
I was fixed up in
You were?
college.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it happened to me. There was some friends that played matchmaker. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that was fun. That was fun. I mean, it wasn't super fruitful. But it's just it's a stepping stone along the way to
Right,
finding
right.
matches. So it taught
Exactly.
me what I do and I don't like.
Yeah.
And so that
I've-
happened. But I would
Because
think
I don't
now,
know about the dating apps. I mean,
Yeah.
those
Well, yeah,
are
because
they
like
relevant?
otherwise, how are you how are you meeting people if not on an app?
Absolutely. Yeah. Grinder was my go-to for
Mhm.
all my dating years. It was just
Mhm.
most popular, what everyone used.
Yeah. Well, I will say in the gay community, Grinder is a really important app
Mhm.
because obviously being gay, it's different than being heterosexual. We live in a heterosexual world where we can assume most of the people you see and you meet are straight. And so I think it's easier. You can to find somebody in a social setting that you could potentially go on a
Right.
date with. And I think that gay people, since it's sort of somewhat invisible, it's like we have to find each other. We have to search for each other. I mean, we'll be at the gym sometimes. We'll be in a grocery store and we'll look and Matthew will say, oh, look at that guy over there. Do you think he's gay? Like, it's like we live in this invisible world of like, where we're all kind of hiding our identity, but we have to sort of
Is
suss
that
each
really?
other out.
Well, what about clubs? I mean, aren't there clubs in Seattle that are,
Bars-
I mean,
Yeah,
there
bars and
seems to
clubs.
be. I mean, in New York, we have so many of them.
Yeah, but like I go to the gay clubs and stuff, so it's like you don't necessarily have to be gay to
No,
go.
of course not.
Yeah.
I understand, but they're
Yeah.
there. They're
No,
there
no,
to
but-
be, if you want to be.
Yeah, bars and clubs
Yeah.
work. Neither of us are really into that. I was never really into bars
Right,
and clubs.
okay.
Yeah.
My main
Alright.
reason, and why the apps were so helpful for me just to meet people, was because I do have a degenerative eye disease that I was born with. I'm legally blind. I've lost 90% of my vision. And going out to a bar or a club, I could do it, but I cannot see a thing.
True.
Like,
Right, that's
I do not know
difficult.
who I'm talking to.
Right.
I would not know what is going on, and just forget it. It's not my scenario.
No.
So
No.
I would just add about apps that I do have noticed that a lot of people that we know are using things like Tinder as well, like those kind of universal apps.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question about both, I guess, Grinder and Tinder or whatever app you're on. Like, how do you know if someone's there just to hook up versus date? Because I feel like especially those two apps have a reputation of kind of being like the hookup apps.
well, in the gay world, they'll just tell you. It's really straightforward. It'll say in their bio. If there's somebody who's looking for something
Yeah.
serious, they'll say they're looking for a real connection. That's what
Yeah.
I was there doing. That's what
Right.
all I wanted. I was not interested in a hookup. It
Mhm.
wasn't for me. I was looking for an honest connection. And
Mhm.
I was clear about it. And as soon as I noticed or got the hint that somebody was only interested in a hookup, I just stopped talking to them.
That's so crazy because if you imagine like if a straight guy had on their bio like here for a hookup, he would be like the new West Elm Caleb. Like he would be in the news. Like you
Yeah.
can't say that.
That's true. That's true. You're absolutely right. It doesn't work that way for heterosexuals. I don't think you can't be as forward as we
Yeah,
are. We can be
why?
very transparent that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. I mean, because you want to be honest and know what you're getting yourself into versus going on 10 dates and then the guy's like, so I don't really see this as a relationship. And you're like, I'm meeting your
Right.
parents, Tommy. Like, what do you mean you don't see it as a relationship?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, on Grindr profile, some of them would have like right now, which
Oh,
just
yeah.
means not only do they want to
Right.
hook up, but like now.
That
Yeah.
is crazy. What do you
Yeah.
think, Grandma?
I don't look at me. I don't believe in that. Don't look at me. I don't understand the whole dating thing, the whole
Mhm.
scene in these
Mhm.
these apps. So
Does it matter with dating if someone's like a top, a bottom, or verse? And like, how do you figure that out without, do you ask?
Yeah.
Grindr lets you.
Well, first of all, Grandma Gail, do you
yeah, what is
understand
that? I don't even know
top,
what
bottom,
you're
verse?
talking about. I lost you. I lost you halfway through on being on top or on the bottom because that was a different thing that I used to understand. That.
Well, that's what that means. Like
Well, who asked that? Who asked?
well,
if
you
were-
have I assume that it's important to know because if it's two tops, like how would that work?
Right.
Uh,
No,
so-
you're right, Kim. You're on.
I don't think, Kimberly, I don't think we should get too personal here.
No, Grandma Gail. Honestly, we talk about this stuff on our podcast.
Oh,
We're
all
really
right.
open about
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
We want to destigmatize this a little bit because it is just, it's normal for the gay community. It's not a big deal.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, if you identify as a top, that just means you're, the pitcher. And then there's the catcher. Does this
Okay.
terminology make
Are you
sense?
getting it?
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay.
I got it. With
Yeah.
the picture.
So
of the guy, I got
Grindr,
it.
Grindr's really helpful. It would let you select your top or verse top, meaning you go either way, but
Bingo.
preferred top, you're completely verse, meaning either way, verse bottom. I found that most people had that in their profile. It
Yeah.
said.
Okay.
Some didn't, and then you could just ask, "What are you into?"
What are you into? But like for me, it's funny. Matthew and I had a little disagreement about this, or we don't necessarily see eye to eye. Is like, to me, it's less important. I just want to know if I have a connection with the person.
Right,
And I
right.
figure those things sort themselves out pretty quickly anyway.
I
And
agree
you
with
kind of
that.
figure out if you're a match. And sometimes you'll surprise yourself. You will actually be maybe that person sexually changes you a little bit, and then you discover a new thing about yourself. So I don't think you should close the door based on those labels.
Good for
That's
you.
good advice. What is it like working together in general?
We've been working together basically since the day we met. We've
Yeah.
been creating, we started a YouTube channel. Matthew's a wonderful, talented violinist. And so we started
Yeah.
making music videos for his beautiful songs very early on. So we've always been working and collaborating together. And it's both a wonderful thing and oftentimes something that just drives us both insane.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a learning process to learn how to live together and work together
Right.
and make decisions together and compromise a lot.
We're doing the same thing, except we're
are,
not
but
in a
we're not
relationship.
married, and I didn't get a ring from you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to propose, I like the one in Maui better.
Yeah. The sunrise.
The sunrise in Maui
Yeah,
was really my
that's a good
thing.
one.
Yeah,
And then are you guys planning on starting a family? I know you've been a bit open about becoming dads.
we would both absolutely love that. And it's always been a dream of mine. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I wanted as many kids, as I could have. I was like, I want 6 kids.
Well, you can have 6 kids. The 2 of you can be a terrific family together in this day and age. There are loads.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. We have loads of friends that kids have had children from same sexes and all different alternatives of having them. And
Yeah.
there's also adoption. There's lots of avenues
Yeah.
now. So many children in need of loving families that are
And surrogacy is an option. right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we announced on our social media that we are beginning that journey.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're having a meeting next week with some people that kind of are experts at it and kind of guide us through.
Mhm.
We both love the idea of adoption. There's so many kids in
Mhm,
need,
they are.
especially a domestic adoption.
Mhm.
Foster to adopt is also a great option for kids that really need a good home. Surrogacy is also appealing to both of us. We
You'll
might do
see.
one of each.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Do a little. You can do a little of each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got
A
enough
little
love for all of
buffet.
it.
A buffet. But
That's right. It is a buffet.
what's really interesting about it is, we as young kids in school, we're taught very early what the birds and the bees are and how mommy and daddy have a baby. But as same-sex couples, nobody is teaching us how you go about starting a family. It is here we are in our 30s, wanting to start a family, and we are looking at each other and where the hell do you begin? What are the next steps? There are so many options.
Mhm.
So that's why we literally are hiring a consulting firm that helps same-sex couples figure out all the
Right.
avenues,
Yeah.
because it's not
Cool
as
that
easy
that
as going to the
exists.
bedroom.
Yeah, because in a lot of states you can't use a surrogate.
Oh, right.
It's complicated and you have to get the right information, guys. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll look into it and get the right stuff.
Yeah, we've started
Okay,
this
good.
Good.
So then where now, even now in your life and you're up until now, where have you gotten information? Like you said, there's no one really to go to.
So who did you go to
Google.
for help?
Google,
You know what? That's
keep it
sad.
in
If this is where our state of sex education, and we've had a lot of people on that have talked about this, and it really is a sad case because young people today, 8, 9, 10-year-olds who have an issue on identifying aren't really getting good information. And
No.
I don't know what the answer is. We're not really teaching it properly in
Yeah.
schools. And like you say, they're not, you don't have the tools.
We don't have the tools.
You
Yeah,
don't
I
have
really
the
do
tools.
hope
And
that
I don't know what
changes.
I don't think it's going to get any better. I really don't for a few
And
years.
I feel like some people like get in trouble when they're teaching it too early.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
people get in trouble teaching it too late. Like I think it should be earlier, but a lot of people were like, well, my kid wasn't
Right.
even thinking about that. And
Right.
now they are. And
You bring up a really great point, Grandma Gail, because the reason we are sharing the experience from each step of the way on our social platforms
Mhm.
is because we know that there are young people
Yeah.
following us and watching us, and if the schools aren't going to provide that information,
Yeah.
if we can't find it anywhere else, then we, along with many other people in the LGBT community that are representing in a beautiful way, can be that resource in a sense.
I think it's terrific.
yeah, I love
It's
it.
terrific.
That's like one of the goods of social media,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
because
what
there's a lot
really-
of bad that comes from it too.
Yeah. No,
but-
that is really very
Mhm.
good.
So I want to end the episode with a game we play with all of our guests, Grandma Gail's old fashioned dating quiz. So
Ooh.
basically,
I
we'll,
don't think they're going to fall into any of these traps.
there's not a trick.
You trick some of the people, I'm telling you.
We'll go through some scenarios and we will deem based off your answers whether you're more of a traditional dater or a modern dater.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
So
That's
would
Matt
you
first and then Paul. That's
yeah,
how they
okay,
do
Matt
it.
and then
Yeah,
Paul.
Exactly.
Would you rather receive a call or a text from the person you're dating?
A call.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna say a text, and only because like I'm nervous and I want to think up through my response.
Yeah, I'm the same.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because you're procrastinators.
No, it's more just like
You
Matthew
two
calls
over-
it, yes.
you can't
Matthew
make a
calls it.
decision.
Matthew
Okay.
calls it Paulcrastinating.
He's a procrastinator.
I
I
could
love
call
it.
it Kim procrastination. All right.
would you sleep with someone on the first date?
Yes.
Yes, and we did.
Okay, all right.
So it worked.
Worked for them.
It worked. It worked. Hey, well, my defense is we had lunch and we were like together for like 12 hours. before
Okay.
that.
So
Yeah.
it's,
So we'll
it's
say
really
it's
like
more
3
than 2
dates.
dates, right.
Yeah.
It was. Thank you.
I don't
Yeah.
need a defense.
Dating apps or setups?
Dating apps, because that's the only thing I ever experienced.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I like both. I really do like both. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be one or the other. I believe in like serendipity, and I love the idea of meeting somebody randomly or being set up, but I don't think that an app is unromantic. I think that can be
Mhm.
serendipitous too.
Yeah. Move in together before getting engaged or wait until you're engaged to move in?
But we
They
moved in
probably
after
did it
4
on the
months.
second date.
No. Yeah, we moved in after 4 months,
Oh, that's good.
and he proposed after 3 years. So we
Oh,
did
so
break
they were
that
together
rule.
a long time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then who should pay for the date or should you split the bill?
Ooh.
Whoever asked,
Yeah. Yeah.
whoever asked the person out.
Matthew says
Okay.
whoever asked the person out. I agree. I think that's,
Okay.
and I think it's super. I love that. I love when Matthew paid, and that was super romantic.
Yeah.
He still does.
That's good. That's very good. So they're half and half.
It was more modern. I think it was 3 out of 5 modern, but like pretty
Okay.
split.
Pretty split. They're pretty split.
Guys, thank you so much
You
for
were
joining us.
terrific.
We loved talking to you. Tell our listeners how they can follow you.
We are Matthew and Paul on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. And then you can find our podcast, His and His, on any podcast app.
Yes. And thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
You're
this was
inspiring, you
fun.
two guys. I wish you
Oh.
will both well and have a family soon and enjoy your life together. It's beautiful.
Well, you guys have a wonderful chemistry. This is really fun. And we are now listeners of Excuse My Grandma. So
thank
thank you.
Good.
Hope you guys liked the episode with Matthew and Paul of the His and His podcast. What cute husbands. I still am laughing about how he didn't see the proposal. Thanks for sticking around with us. You know the drill. You can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Excuse My Grandma. And we will see you next week.
Bye.